Greetings, fellow investigators, and welcome back to our video podcast, Into the Darkness, where my friends and I play the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. I'm your host, Tom Rayleigh. Our scenario is entitled Homecoming. It was written by Thomas McKeon, who is also our game master. And this is episode 14. I will be doing the recap as Clifton Hawk, Private Eye. And so, without further delay, let's continue our journey into the darkness. In 1871, a group of academics from Miskatonic University started an investigation into the rise of psychic activity following the Civil War. What they found was that most paranormal events were faked by charlatans, hoping to exploit gullible people. This group of friends became known as the Arcane Society. Their outward mission then, as it is now, is to investigate and catalog these phonies, though not necessarily to expose them. The continued existence of such phonies creates a smokescreen, which the Arcane Society effectively uses to keep the true paranormal a guarded secret. Over the course of the last 6 decades, the inner circle of the Arcane Society have come into contact with real paranormal activity, mostly of a sinister nature, which involves entities of varying powers outside the human race. In the past, some have called these things gods, angels, demons, even the Fae, and many of them threaten to overwhelm mankind and to destroy us. Much of the truth of things has been hidden from the common man, which is necessary to maintain some semblance of civilization. There have been those few visionaries who were foolish enough to write down what they learned. I have one of those texts up in my hotel room now, and I understand the strong temptation to read through it, but it would seem that Providence has found a way to avoid that insanity. The inner workings of the Arcane Society are not well known even to its members. I was unaware that the New York branch existed until now, and as my training taught me, I'm skeptical. This case has grown large and ponderous in my mind. It started with a murder in a penthouse, which led to a missing persons case. It tunneled its way through government conspiracies and is still not fully surfaced. Now, we have a deadbeat husband running off with a spiritualist who keeps a copy of Unersprechlichen Kulten in her possession. Things are moving behind the things, vast, formless things that move the scenery to and fro. Last night we were attacked by crows and had to change our rooms. William keeps speaking for the dead, and I keep looking into the eyes of doom. Where will it end? Who can say? Turns out that the head librarian at Lowe's Memorial Library, Columbia University, is very familiar with our spiritualist. Mr. Guy Jules is also a member of the New York Arcane Society and has invited us to join him at their headquarters around 7 p.m. If I decide to trust them, I'll probably give them the book, but I have to admit, the temptation to read it is almost overwhelming. It could shed light on my dreams.
Awesome. All right. So we're going to jump forward. I think we all agreed on that at the end of the last session. We're going to jump forward to around 7:10. You guys are pulling up to the Arcane Society in Harlem. Basically, it's just a very small building wedged between shops, mainly shops in this area. I'm imagining, Fowler, are you driving?
Yep.
So Fowler's driving, he pulls up and just parks right in front. Cars line the streets. It's quiet tonight. Not too many people on the sidewalks this late. So what do you guys do? You're outside. There are stone steps that lead up to very large double doors, oak doors.
I step out and I look up, look around, look at the the building itself?
It's very modest, but it's well kept. By the double doors is a placard. It says New York City Arcane Society. It even has a number. It says number 2.
So I say, well, gentlemen, let's see if we can find some stuff out. And as I step forward, I say, don't step on the 3rd step. And I step over the 3rd step and keep going up.
All right. So Hawk is approaching the doors. Everyone else is in the car.
No, I get out and
I thought they were all coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get out.
Okay.
I follow. I mean, I'm a member of the society as well.
I'm not a member. Am I allowed to go in there?
He invited us all.
Oh, okay.
Well, William's giddy as a schoolgirl, and he's chattering away to Tommy because this is the first time he's been there. Tommy, have you been to one of these before?
Just calm down. It's going to be nothing but old musty books in there. There's not going to be nothing to see or do. So,
All right.
Before I go in the door, I'm going to look over my shoulder to see if there's anybody following us. Suspicious blonde characters, maybe.
Go ahead and give me a spot hidden.
Oh, 93.
There are people on the sidewalk. Like, it's not like busy, but it's, there are people kind of going up and down. Was it a hard?
Oh no, 93 is almost failed.
Yeah. Okay.
Probably tripped over the door still.
Yeah. You see nothing.
Okay.
I'm debating. I'm like, oh, what does he see? You see nothing. You see people. All right.
Do we know, I think it's April 10th. Is that important or?
It's April 10th.
Yeah, it's April 10th.
Okay.
April 10th, 7:10.
7 p.m. 7:10.
Yeah.
31.
So, Hawk, you're not open the doors?
Before I open the doors, I go up and I say, I turn back and look at them and I say, before you step through the door, do this. I go like this. And then I open the door and I step through.
All right. So you push the doors very, very heavy. And as you push it in, you see that there's light. This is the foyer is very welcoming. Chandeliers hang from the ceiling. Very nice oak floor. Brand new rug. As you step in, there are several wings, and then there are steps that lead to another wing, and then hallways that kind of frame it. So the southern wing, which if you turn and you look, you see that there's a placard above it. It says Morrison Wing, and it just houses a couple of comfortable lounge chairs. There's mirrors on the ceiling. The northern wing to your right, if you look, it says the Coates Wing. And it's very open. There are chairs rowed up. There's a projector brought down for Hawk and for Thompson. This is clearly where they do the ghost shows. Yeah. So you're standing in the foyer. Last one in closes the door behind them. We're going to say it's for Thompson and for Hawk. Usually there would be maybe some members here kind of milling around. There's no one here. It's completely empty. What you all hear, I'm not going to have you guys do listen rolls, is you can hear a heated conversation in the main lounge that's directly in front of you. So like I said, there are stepways that lead to another room. So you got your wings over to your sides. Directly ahead of you is hallways and then another room. And you can hear behind that door, there's some kind of heated conversation going on within.
I'm just going to step a little closer to the door. I'm not going to go through it, but I'm going to see if I can hear what's going on.
Sure. So you go ahead and you step up the steps, and you're just kind of standing there, just like kind of in the hallway, just milling around. Maybe they didn't hear you. You can hear there's 3 people arguing. Behind the door, it's a little bit muffled, but it's clearly guy, a man, and then a woman. And you can hear them saying, you can hear guys saying, it's just a ploy. It's just a ploy. You don't need to put too much faith into what they say. The man then says, this is the important thing that we have to deal with right now. And you've invited 5 or 6 nut jobs. And the guy then says, 2 of them are members of the Arkham wing. That we can trust them. The woman then chimes up and then says, but what are we going to do about the letter that they just sent us? That's what's important, guy. Not this wild goose chase. The well-being of the society is what's important. All of this is happening behind. They're not keeping it down, especially the other man. The other man seems very flustered and angry. He's shouting.
Is there anything in this room that would be used to announce that somebody's arrived?
No, I mean, you could knock on the door.
Well, I don't want to interrupt them.
Yeah. They just keep arguing.
Perhaps if we walk around the room and do a little exploring into what's here, our footsteps on the ground will make squeaking noises, and they'll.
Yeah. Is there a I guess library close by in the front room?
So as you're looking around, you can see that there are some books in the Morrison wing, but they're all the basic generic.
Okay,
bullshit. Nothing. But since you're looking, you kind of take the steps up into that hallway I mentioned where Hawk is standing, and you can see that because it frames this main room. It's kind of like in the center of a hallway that kind of wraps around it, and you can see as you peer around the corner, there is another room at the ends of these hallways. Very large double doors, very imposing. And they're like down a very long hallway, very dimly lit.
Okay, is it assumed that since Hawk and I are members, that we have free range in this chapter's building? I would assume so. It would be like the Masons, right?
Yeah, I mean, you could make the assumption. Yeah,
They can assume that we're not going to steal stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well,
But they don't know whether we're really members or not. But
well, they invited us.
right. I suppose just common politeness. But if there's no locked door, then
Yeah, if it's locked, then we won't break in. But
it's like come right in.
yeah, I am curious about this door down here, so I'll start making my way down there.
Sure. So Henry, you go all the way down to this door. The hallways wrap around and they meet to a center door. You can see that the knobs are very large, and there is a series of locks. Whatever is behind this door is rather important.
Okay.
I don't know if there would be an associate. We could say an intelligence roll since there's no like organization roll. Yeah.
Let's see. I got that. 55 out of 80. Oh, 70. Sorry.
So, in the I'm assuming, in Tom's sake, that in the Arkham Arcane Society, there is a wing, there is a room where all of the dangerous things are kept and stored.
We've never defined where dangerous things would be kept, but
Right.
But they wouldn't be out.
the 30s. This is the 30s. They might have their own facility. If you recall from the other stories, they used the Corbin Library kind of as their base.
Yeah.
They held their private meetings in people's houses.
Yeah.
Right.
This
Presidents or the...
sure.
I would imagine, what's his name? Armitage would hold like most of the valuable and dangerous artifacts that we
definitely, yeah.
Yes.
And that would probably be somewhere in a vault somewhere in Miskatonic. So
yeah.
Yes.
I mean, at least that's what I'm assuming.
Yeah, if you were to assume that, and you were to assume that here in New York, instead of having it all kind of spread out, they've localized it. They have a chapter like Masons. Behind that door is the vault.
Right.
Okay.
That's cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
They probably have one in the Massachusetts one too. They just don't let anybody know where it is.
Yeah. So you can assume that that's an off-limits area to just wanderers.
Okay.
So to everyone that's out in the front, with Thompson's kind of walking around and Hawk's kind of walking around, you hear Guy then say, hold on, I think I heard something. And he opens the door and he just goes, I'm sorry, we didn't hear the front door.
I'm sorry, perhaps we should have made more noise.
No. We were just, and he pushes the door open, and you can see there's a young Asian woman, and then an old kind of, not old, he looks old. He's clearly middle-aged, but he's got shallow cheeks, and he's kind of hunched over, wears a suit, and they're standing there in the middle of, you could say the main lounge is like an administration room. This is clearly where they do like their donations and organizing. But they stand in the middle of it. He says, well, we were just having a conversation. Come in. And he pushes the door open, allowing you guys entrance.
All right, I'll enter.
All right. Mr. Hawk was muted. I saw a grand hand gesture.
Henry, this way. Because you'd walk down the hallway.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I would have heard them down the hallway.
Right.
So I would have made my way back.
All right, so you guys all enter into the main room.
We shake hands.
Yeah, Guy, he kind of brings you guys all over to the two, and he says, gentlemen, this here is Emma Kim, and this here is Walter Kaus. We're senior members of this chapter.
Walter, what was Walter's last name?
Kaus, Kauss.
Okay.
We were just having a discussion, and Walter, he just kind of rolls his eyes. He says, do you need chairs? I can go pull chairs from the offices, and or we can maybe step into an office. You can see that he's very scatterbrained right now.
I imagine that you wonder, what we're doing here, or if we have any sort of credentials we can present. From the time we walked in the door, we could probably recount to you your entire conversation in this room. We didn't hear it all, but we heard most of it. And that's probably mostly due to the level of your voices, but also because we eavesdrop on everything around us. We are investigators.
And Jules, he goes, and that's why I'd like to hire you. Well, you're clearly investigators. That's why you came to me in the library, and I've caught them up on all of that. and you can see that like Emma is kind of just like looking off like towards the ground over here. Koss has kind of crossed his arms. He just looks angry. He looks pissed.
Well, let's say this, Game Master. Let's say that we explain ourselves, we get ourselves comfortable, and we give them, a recounting, maybe a half an hour long of what's gone on, who we are, how we're involved with the Arcane Society, and
Sure. And with all of that, they 100% believe your credentials. They, especially Guy, he was willing to believe you without all this.
Right.
But even with that, Koss and Emma don't particularly seem that interested. And when you're done kind of recounting, like, oh, this is kind of what's happened, this is what's led us here, Koss just says, Guy, can you please? And Guy nods, and he steps forward. And he says, I believe that a secret organization has existed in New York City, possibly the rest of New England, for about more than half a century. I began to think this when members such as yourselves, Mr. Thompson and Mr. Hawk, they'd go on missions, investigations, and they'd sometimes see people meandering in the background, but they'd almost always be the same people. One person would say they saw this man standing at a store corner, and then a month later, another person says that they saw the same man at a diner. I believe that these people are agents of this organization, that they're somehow shadowing us.
Do you have a description of this individual?
Oh, well, he's nondescript, but there's many of them. One time there was a shorter woman. One time there was a black man who would bump into some of our investigators. But the sightings have gone down. But through my own investigating, the existence of this organization hasn't. I've been doing some digging and some speaking with antiquitans that we've been dealing with over the years, many that I trust. And some of them have told me that there is a group that vets anybody that deals with them. And these antiquitans, I can't pronounce that word for the life of me, I'm sorry. The ones that do work with them are usually not on the up and up. They'll hire, I've heard, stories of them hiring bounty hunters, tomb raiders, just unsavory folk to gather things. And they'll pay extreme amounts to get it.
I see.
Well, we can say that we've been in town for only 6 days now. And even before that, maybe for a day or two before that, we'd started having similar things. Somebody is watching us. But over the course of the last year, we've attracted the attention of someone. Have you been informed of the activities that took place over the last year with the arcane? Well, they weren't directly with the Arcane Society, but they were with us.
Wow.
File.
I do have some files, and I can give those to you. But a lot of these dealings are, and then Koss kind of chimes in and he says they're coincidences. And Juleson holds up his hand and says, I was thinking I was beginning to think so too. But then you told me about Tally. Now, Tally and Timothy were obviously having an affair. And you're looking for Timothy. He's your focus. But from what you told me, men following Timothy, and you've been seeing people, I think that these men are also agents of the cult. Whether it be a cult or an organization, I don't know. But I think they took him to get to her. Why? Because Tally is not only an incredibly smart young woman and a polyglot, she's also, and then Koss kind of clears his throat. And Jules turns back to him and says, she's special.
She's a gifted medium.
Yes. Tally's, the best thing that we can say is that she's an empath. She has the ability to psychically feel other people and location and objects' emotions. Anything extreme that they've felt, she can touch and feel. And it's because of this ability that she's also a sort of conduit for spiritual energy.
I explained to him what we encountered in her flat.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm surprised that they haven't gone there to investigate, because the place is like running with ghosts.
No,
and I know it sounds ridiculous, but
I know. And he says, me and Tally have been close for some time. I know that it's running with ghosts. She does readings for people. She's incredibly talented. I've been employing her for the better part of a few years. She's done a lot of our translations here within the Arcane Society. If there's something that we need to know from a certain tome or artifact, she knows it. We just simply hand it to her, and she provides us with a translation and hands back the book.
So would you say that she is a member of the Arcane Society then?
He then kind of tilts his head and says, not exactly. She feels, and he doesn't finish that line. He says, she has certain feelings about our organization. She doesn't necessarily agree with us.
If I may ask, what's the most dangerous tome that you've allowed her to translate?
Well, there's been many. And he looks at Koss, and Koss just kind of looks back at him, unamused. Guy kind of smiles, and he says, what you mean to say is, well, let's clarify. Most dangerous or most notorious?
Most dangerous.
I don't necessarily think I can share that.
Well, I'm from Massachusetts. I'm well familiar with Armitage and his collection. I've, of course, not read the tomes, but I know their titles.
We recently got some texts, scrolls from Bhutan. They were very old. The text was almost illegible, but we could make out pieces. Through Tally's translations, we were able to discover that these were texts written by a sorcerer of some kind. but they allowed for communion and possession by a being called Abwe Gunshal. And this being...
Did you have reason to believe that these were effective?
And he chuckles and says, "We have our reasons to verify, but that's why we keep them locked up. And we trust Tally." And then Carlson says, "You trust Tally. I've never met her. Neither has Emma here."
Really?
And then Emma kind of shakes her head and says, "No, she's been... we've never met, but we have corresponded through letters."
Sorry, I spilled a little water.
William steps forward, unusually confident. Tommy would maybe think, and kind of takes a deep breath and says something along the line of, to the other two, not Guy, I'm a little surprised at your cynicism, considering all that you've already experienced.
Well, it's... Emma kind of says, it's not that we're not cynical about what you're describing. It's that Costin says, there's no evidence of a cult or an organization or anything like that. Guy is simply looking for something that isn't there when we have much more important things to do. Isn't that right, Guy?
May I ask what some of those things might be?
Guy then kind of leans back and he lets Kaus kind of take control. And he says, we've recently been getting letters from a group called the Atlantic Sea Partners. They'd like to buy the property. They've already bought out the bakery to our right and the shop to our left. They need this whole block essentially to complete their building plans for some kind of headquarters. And initially, they sent us an offer for about 14 grand to buy out the property.
Wow.
Wow.
And he then turns to Guy and says, Guy, turn that down. And now he then pulls out a letter and he says, we've got a letter from a law house. And he opens it up. Baxter Law.
Thomas, you broke up.
Did I?
Baxter Law, you said, and then you broke up.
Baxter Law saying that we have a letter saying from Baxter Law that the offer's still on the table, and then what do we have here? And he pulls out a letter. This one has the city seal on it, and he says, a city planning commission letter saying that we're out of code, and that if we don't get the building up to code, because the line shifted, this whole place needs to be demolished.
William says Tally was being followed by somebody who's recognized as being involved in a big corporation in the city, who are involved in rezoning parts of the city.
And Constantine says, see, that's not that important. We've never met Tally. Tally is a useful person. She's helpful, but the fact of the matter is that in a week, all this will be gone. And Emma then says, and Guy, you need to understand that if we lose this property, we won't have anywhere to put anything in the back room, in the Smythe wing.
So you don't have a contingency plan in case you have to move your collection.
And Carlson says, we have no money.
It is 1931.
most of the members had to leave. They couldn't keep giving donations. It's basically just the three of us maintaining all of this. And when we had a big corporate conglomerate saying that they were going to pay us 14 grand, we could have found a smaller space, and we could put the objects there. But no. Instead, we are just sitting ducks, waiting for us to be evicted out of this property. And Kos just like kind of falls back into his seat. He's pissed.
I'll turn to the guy and say, well, why did you decline it? You must have had a good reason.
And he says, because this is where we need to be. And I'm not going to be bought out. They had an enticing offer, sure, but, you know, eventually the depression's going to end. People are going to come back. And Costa says he's just too chicken shit to admit that he'd rather spend all of his time focusing on some fake, fictitious cult that doesn't exist than dealing with the problems in front of us, which is we're going to lose this property now because Guy turned down a deal with this Atlantic Sea Company group.
Well, you said that the deal was still on the table for them. I can't tell you what to do. You have friends in other arcane societies. It would be a bit of a chore, but you could move your whatever artifacts you might have to other locations and then relocate. You might just have to.
Kaus then kind of scoffs and says, not if he hires you.
I don't know what you want to hire us for.
Guy then leans forward and says, I think that Tally was taken by this cult. I think that Timothy and Tally both were taken. And you're clearly looking for Timothy, which has led you to Tally. And if my fears are correct, then they're together. I'd like to hire you all to find Tally and Timothy both.
But we're already doing that.
And he shrugs and he says, I want to make it official that you're looking for Tally as well.
Well, she certainly is an important part of this story, and I have no problem with that. We can worry about that sort of thing later on.
And by that sort of thing, you mean you're talking about money and things
Financial compensation for...
Right. I was also thinking that we should maybe look into this law company or this law firm that's sent you this letter. Yeah. First of all, to see if it's an actual, like a legitimate company, and then to what their interests are, because it might actually lead us to the people who are following Tally, the people who are these outsiders that you've been spotting around the city.
Well, and Guy then chimes in and says, I don't think that the law firm or anything like that has anything connected to Tally.
Well,
it may be that they're just trying to buy the property so that they can...
Right. They might actually be hired by these individuals who have been following Tally. What I'm saying here, it might lead us to some more information.
I have a question outside of that, but back to a previous question. Since you were willing to allow Miss Tally to, I forget what her last name, Miss Darby, to translate some of your more valuable texts, is she by chance in possession of any of those texts right now? You're muted.
Yeah. Kauston leans forward and he says, I believe that she was in possession of unspeakable cults, or Usprechen the Kulten. Guy.
She's been gone for what, 2 weeks?
And Kaus then nods, and Guy says, "We just assumed that she was translating."
So when did you find out she was missing?
When you showed up and told us.
I see. She's been missing for almost 2 weeks. And
Kaus then says, and it's probably because of what you said. She left with this man.
yes,
Why don't you go focus on finding this man, and you'll find her. They're going to be together. They're probably run off to Vermont or something like that.
I'm more concerned with your lack of protecting certain texts that you're allowing to be left lying around.
Guy then says, the book is obviously not what they were after.
Where is the book now?
I'm assuming that it would be still at her house or within your possession.
You know, her front door was wide open.
Guy then is kind of taken aback by this, and Kaus then leans back and then goes, "What a fucking prick you are." He then looks at the rest of the group and says, "Anybody else?"
I look at Krauss and I say, I suggest if you are, I don't know what position you hold here. I assume probably president. You need to get a team to go out to that house because there are some serious psychic anomalies that are going on there.
He then holds out his arms and says, "You're looking at it."
You're it, the three of you.
He then says, "We have no money because we have no people here. Are you stupid?" And
We
Guy
used to have 10 grand. We had 10 grand.
We can give you what we have left.
Guy then kind of leans forward and says, let's not
All right.
get too heated.
Then I think that you don't need our help to find Tally and Timothy. We're going to do that anyway. What you need is to focus on transferring whatever artifacts you might have to a safe location. And that house bothers me immensely because there is some serious shit going on there, and you don't have the means to investigate. You don't have an inner circle.
Guy then says, as I said before, me and a team have already investigated it.
I think you need to go back because what we saw there was substantial.
No, I believe you when you say it's substantial. I witnessed it all firsthand.
Are you aware that there was a protection circle on the front porch that was damaged, destroyed by something?
He then says,
I assume not her running out of the house.
And then he says,
anyways, I tell her the evidence. There was evidence that they were ambushed or...
House then kind of scoffs and says, I don't think that you understand. We've never been to her house, and Guy, I don't think, went to the house. We would not know. And Guy just kind of holds up his hand and says, Kaus, stop it.
Okay, wait, I'm confused. I thought they were just saying they were at the house.
Guy then kind of leans forward, pinching his brow and says, no, Mr. Hawk, we have been to the house before, not recently.
I see. You were giving her tomes that had secret knowledge, possibly containing spells and incantations, and she opened up something and let something through, I think. That's my opinion. I can make a few phone calls and get some members of the Massachusetts Arcane Society here in about 6 hours.
He then scoffs and says, he's not even answering the question. And he leans forward and says, are you going to help us investigate this or not? Because honestly, we've got better things to do, such as finding out how we're going to keep this location, because I sure as hell don't want people that you've called coming here and taking the artifacts that I've cataloged. I don't necessarily trust you. I don't necessarily like you. I don't know anybody from the Massachusetts place other than senior authorities. No. We're keeping this place. If Guy has to sell every goddamn piece of equipment he has, his house, his car, I don't give a shit about any of that.
I'm not sure you realize that New York is going through a period right now where they're rezoning stuff. They if somebody wants your house, they're going to take it.
Cowson stands up and holds up his hands and says, I'm leaving. Jules, if you're going to hire them to look into this cult or find talent or whatever it is that you want, go right ahead. I'm not dealing with it. And he walks out. And Emma kind of just looks at you all. She's been very quiet this whole time. The conversation has mainly been dominated by Jules and Kaus. But Jules then says, I'm sorry, gentlemen. But yes, my intention was to hire you to help us investigate this cult, which I do believe has both Timothy and Tally.
Well, I think that we are going to investigate it anyway. I can't speak for
I think, yeah, I'm gonna step in and I'm gonna say, I think Mr. Hawk has already agreed to help somebody else, but I don't see any reason why we can't kill two birds with one stone. So I will say that on my behalf, and I'll take out a piece of paper. I said, of a small contract, you can hire me. Anything I find out about Tally, I will definitely pass on to you. This has my daily hours, a daily stipend. It's all we need.
Yeah, he then says, oh, well, I was, we don't really need all that. I was going to pay you once the job was done. I just wanted to officially bring you on. I do have information that I'd be willing to share since, like I said, you're investigating it and your investigation led to me anyways.
Yeah, that's if we can work together on this, then I can see everybody would be benefiting from this.
Absolutely.
Oh, yes. Kaus just does not want to deal with any of this. He thinks that the artifacts and the remaining here is the most important thing, but I won't be bought out. And if we need to have the artifacts moved, like you said, Mr. Hawk, that's what we do. That's what we need to do.
Yeah.
I'm not going to.
That all sounds like you guys need to work that out. That's all personal politics and what your branch, the Arcane Society, has to figure out.
Oh yes, no, I completely agree. Why don't we go into my office and we'll talk about what I've found. Mr. Hawk mentioned if I had a file, which I do. Maybe I can pass on some information. I can give you a lead. Emma, do you mind? We're not going to be too long. And she kind of nods and says, of course. Good night, everybody. I'll just pack up my things. And she kind of walks into another office. And Guy, he kind of just sighs and says, well, you've met them. They've, I'm sorry about them getting heated. Emma, not so much. She's very quiet. She's a very timid person. But Kaus, like I said, just does not want to deal with this at all.
Well, why don't you go do that? And I'll sit here for a while. And you guys take care of any kind of legal stuff that you want to go over.
Oh, no, we don't need to deal with that. Just so long as, we all agree that we're working together, that's totally fine with me. Come into my office. I'll share with you what I can.
All right.
So we sit you guys down. And he says that now, from what I know, one of these underground dealers, so we'll call them, that's been working with this organization has contacted and reached out to one of our associates, one of our antiquitans. He's a Polish fellow in Jersey City. His name is Alphonse Wezba. I can't pronounce it. Alphonse Wezba.
You wrote it.
I wrote it. I don't speak it.
Could it perhaps be Wiesbach?
Yeah, I can't pronounce. I can't.
How's it spelled?
Wierzba. Wezba.
Wiesbach. Okay.
Yeah, see, I would never have done that. I think that you should perhaps go speak with him in Jersey City. He told me about this kind of in passing, but I thought that it was something that I should look into. But now I've got that all to deal with, Klaus and Emma and the Arcane Society. So now that you're here, maybe you can deal with it.
Okay. And what are we talking to him about? What's his involvement?
He is an antiquitan that has been reached out to by one of the underground dealers that works with the unseen cult or organization, whatever you want to call it.
Did they offer to sell him something?
I don't really know much. I believe Klaus talked to him, and I got my information that way. It was just kind of in passing.
So we get his address, yeah?
Yeah, and he writes it down. And you can see that he's got a big file. He passes it to you, Hawk, but a lot of it's circumstantial. A lot of it's just like, we saw this guy at one location and another location in a separate state. And it's like, well, maybe it wasn't the same guy. Maybe it was just a guy that looked a lot like him.
Right, except there's some reason they're reporting, so they're seeing something.
Yeah, well, and it's also not the people that write down the reports. They're not saying like, oh, it's like a mysterious figure. They're like, no, it's a guy like in a suit, and he's got a hat, and he's got a newspaper, and he's walking down the street with everybody. Like, it's not nothing supernatural. It's just like, we saw this guy here, and then 2 months later, we saw the same guy on another investigation here. Lots of circumstantial stuff.
Okay.
Is Tommy aware of this too?
Oh yeah, yeah. He's if the file is in front of you guys, then you could probably all see it.
So that raises a question, and I'll say to William, this kind of sounds like what we were dealing with earlier.
Yeah, exactly. The German with the coat, the overcoat.
Yeah.
Yes, Alphonse. If he's been reached out to somebody who's dealt with this group, it's probably important that you speak with them. But like I said, I don't know much. Klaus is the one that dealt with them mainly. He's the one that deals with all of our antiques, so I'll call them artifacts, books, tomes. He collects them. He catalogs them. He had a team when we had, the money to employ one. But now we don't. Now he does it all himself. So Alphonse is really his contact.
All right.
And is there anything more concrete in relation to Tally with this, or you're just saying this is possible lead and that's all?
Well, you mentioned in your recap to me that Mr. Tucker reported, reported seeing people, and other people in the neighborhood reported seeing people. I believe it was Mr. William who said that someone was looking for Tally. I think that these people are members of that cult. And for some reason, they're looking for Tally. I don't know why, but I think that they got to Timothy to get to her. They got him. Maybe they pulled information out of him because it's difficult to find Tally unless you know exactly where to go. She deliberately tries to keep a low profile, as small a footprint as possible, because, as you pointed out, Mr. Hawk, she's dealing with powerful things. So the fewer people who know about her and what she does, the better. So I believe that that they somehow learned of Timothy, they got a hold of him, and they got her. And I believe they're holding both. And I think that they're still alive, too.
Well, I'm not sure where to begin, but we begin with Jersey City. This is all part of our investigation already, so we'll keep you in the loop.
Of course. And he stands up and he holds out his hand. It's just good to know that someone other than me, believes that this could be happening. It's a little bit of validation on my end. And he kind of chuckles.
I think what you should do, leave that part to us. See what you can do to convince Kaus and Kim to move the artifacts to a safe location. You might even consider putting them in a place that doesn't even seem safe, but that nobody knows about. Just minimal guard. Just keep it.
And I completely
like a storage unit somewhere.
I've been thinking about reaching out to the Arkham Arcana Society anyways, just because, they have Miskatonic. Perhaps we could send it there. We've got tons of artifacts and tomes.
They're only about 5 or 6 hours away.
Exactly. It's just difficult to deal with Kaus.
Do you think that Kaus might be compromised?
And he immediately kind of lightens up and chuckles and says, no, me and Kaus have been dealing with this since basically day one. We've been together through thick and thin. These artifacts are the most important things in the world to him. He wouldn't be compromised. I don't even know. I believe that this organization that they've followed our people, but I don't think they've infiltrated. There's only 3 of us. What's there to infiltrate?
All right. It's been an interesting evening. Does anybody else have questions or want to say something? Or
William, I think, wants to ask how, if you don't mind me asking, how easily would Emma be swayed to really be on your side? Because obviously there's a lot of negativity coming from elsewhere.
Yes. I don't really know. Emma is a very reasonable person, not as emotional as Kaus. She's really just, she's taken on the role of an administrator. Of course, someone needs to manage the accounts and file away the records and sign all the documents. She believes that maintaining the Arcane Society is the most important thing. And I agree with her. But I also think that figuring out what's happened to the well-being of another person is important too. You tell me that Tally was taken, you believe that Timothy was taken. That's two people's well-beings that are linked to this organization I've been looking into, and no one believes me. So,
Well, that's what we're here for.
and he kind of smiles. And you said that you're the sensitive one, correct?
William. Yes.
Myself and Mr. Hawk, yes.
And he smiles and says, yeah, not Emma, Tally would definitely like you. We don't really interact with a ton of, psychics. And when we do, it's usually to debunk them. So it's interesting having two people who claim that they have inklings of the beyond.
I smile and I sort of put my hands on William's shoulder and I say, William doesn't know that he's... I mean, we've told him, but when the episode hits him, he's not there. He's somewhere else.
What was the defining incident for
Well, the most dramatic incident was when we stepped into that room in Tally's house.
Yes. I stepped into that room about 4 or 5 years ago. There's definitely an oppressive feeling when you enter. Dull people don't really feel much, but Tally says that when she enters, it's like on a bad day, it's like Grand Central Station is packed. She's got to weave her way. It's like going through water. That's what she says. It's like trying to walk through water.
William just looks at Clifton and eyeballs him, kind of nods his head.
I say, William spoke to us in the voice of comrades long dead that William never knew.
Fascinating. And he just kind of smiles at you, William.
While Clifton's saying that, William's taking a deep breath in and closes his eyes, and he's wanting to kind of give Guy some reassurance. Breathes in and out, and he's looking to tap into this to somehow give him a little morsel to let him know he's doing the right thing.
Sure. Go ahead and roll a power check. And if you pass, we'll use 1 magic point.
Oh, that was a disaster.
All right, nothing happens. You take his hands and you close your eyes.
He breathes in and out, and then he goes, "Shall we go?"
And Guy laughs at that. And he says, "You're all probably busy with your own investigation, but I do want you to understand that it means, like I said, quite a lot that you're taking an interest in us, in our organization. Like I said, mainly that you believe me enough to look into Tally. I've been dealing a lot with..."
Well, thank you for having us, and we will keep in close touch.
All right. And he smiles and he nods. Yes, talk to Alphonse. Maybe he has something for you. I'll deal with the Atlantic Sea Partners. And he stands up, he says, "Gentlemen," and Mr. Hawk, and he holds out his hand and says, "We'll have payment for you by the end of this."
So, gentlemen, shall we go?
Yep.
Tommy walks out a little dejected that they didn't sign his contract.
Oh, yeah.
I worked all night on this.
I was prepared.
I suggest to the others that we go to a little coffee shop and get some coffee, and we talk.
Sure.
I'm of the opinion that I don't fully trust any of them.
Well, that Kaus guy was a schmuck, that's for sure.
Yeah. When I asked whether I thought that he was compromised, my question is if he cares too much about the artifacts to keep them to himself and not to actually keep them safe, that distresses me. What distresses me more is that they're giving this psychic tomes like Unersprechlich and Kulten to translate, and they weren't even aware that she was gone. And
I think that was probably. I think that's probably trying to read between what's been said. Guy's trust of Tally, though, wasn't it? You know, he seemed to have a lot of trust in her, and they didn't know she disappeared.
Yeah, except this is all about good people being corrupted by evil tomes, and I'd say that it's just, wouldn't he check up on her every once in a while? Now, maybe not, but the fact is, wouldn't you check up on her every once in a while if you handed her something like Unersprechlich and Kulten or De Vermis Mistress or Necronomicon to translate?
Yeah. No, I would.
So I don't.
Be very.
I'm not. Don't mention the book. I'm not giving them back the book. I will.
Now, I don't have your depth of knowledge of these things, but
Yeah.
From what I saw last time, well, you know, with what happened.
Yes.
With Trent. From what I saw then, if you're exposed to these books, these things, it changes people.
Yes, they have that
I mean,
reputation.
you can't just sit there and read through one after another and not be changed by it.
And you not even understanding the language were disturbed by what you saw. Imagine if you can actually read the text. I'm going to get that to the actual Arcane Society in Massachusetts as soon as possible. I don't think it should go back. It makes me worry as like hell about what artifacts do they actually have in that vault. Do you think that I should call the Massachusetts Arcane Society and tell them everything that's up?
Yeah, I was actually having that same line of thought.
Get some reps out here and take over.
Yeah, specifically since it seems like they're going to be losing their residents soon. I still do want to check in on this law firm.
Yeah, I think we should continue our investigation. I'll draft up a letter tonight and show it to you in the morning, and we can mail it off to Professor Hewitt and Dr. Armitage, and they can just leave the matter up to them. You know, maybe they can come up here and rescue them.
Well,
Kraus won't like it, or Kaus won't like it, but you know.
Did the letter sent by the law firm? Did it give a time frame on when they're going to, I guess, repossess the house or buy it?
About a week and a half is they need. In about a week and a half, they need to renovate the building to where it meets the standards of the new district line. And something I didn't mention before. Yeah, it was written and signed by Converse. For him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if they've only got a week and a bit, I think we need to get to Alphonse's place as soon as possible.
Can I have Tommy do an intro?
Okay. It's probably about 9 o'clock right now, right?
Yeah, about.
Regular success.
Okay. Let me ask you a question, and then if you still don't get it, I'll send you a message. But does the address for the Arcane Society mean anything to you?
The address for the New York?
Yes.
Did you give it to us? Or did you just?
Yes.
He gave it to us. I didn't write it down either.
601 West 147th Street.
That does ring a bell. That's something to do with the rezoning, I think, Tommy.
Can you give me a minute and I'll
Sure, I can give you a minute.
scan my notes, or I mean memory.
Sure. So while he's doing that, you guys can continue talking.
Well, I'm also thinking if Tommy knows some legal way to extend or block the rezoning, for, I don't know, hardship or something like that. At least temporarily for a month or two.
Well, normally that might work, but I think in this case it's working the other way around, in that Converse is clearly in cahoots with this Atlantic group. So they're the ones that are trying to stonewall and
Right.
push out. So it's
Atlantic group is probably throwing money at it.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way we could somehow instigate some sort of legal turnaround to stop them. They're basically doing, steamrolling.
Right.
Did you get it, Tommy, or no?
Nothing's popping up.
Nothing's popping up for you? Okay. Let me send something over to you, bud.
47th Street, 7 blocks away, is the doctor's house.
Give me one sec.
Yeah, they might be nice people, but they're not taking care of the evil artifacts that they've been charged with taking care of.
Well, I wasn't expecting them all to be arguing.
I'm like, I look over at Henry and I'm like, Henry, maybe we should break in there in the middle of the night and remove their artifacts to a safe location. And
Well, let us do things properly. Let us contact our branch of the Arcane Society. As a matter of fact, I was thinking, since they have about a week and a half, perhaps instead of sending a letter, we should just phone them.
Yeah.
So that way they can be on their way, rather than our letter getting to them and then.
Yeah, you're probably right. Well, we can do that tonight. We'll be together in one of the rooms. We can call them and tell them what's up. Ask their advice. Maybe they don't want to interfere in what's going on in another Arcane Society, but I don't know what the bylaws say.
Well, what is your plan for tomorrow?
I guess we're going to Jersey City. I don't know where that is.
It's just across the. It's just.
Yeah,
across
I
the
know
bay.
where it is.
Yeah.
Just across the bay.
Yeah, it's just across the bay. It's literally right there. It's about a 30, 45-minute drive. Not even that. Probably like a 20-minute drive.
So New York City and Jersey City are next to each other.
They're right next to each other.
Is Jersey City in New York or is it in New Jersey?
It's in New Jersey. It's where the line is.
Well, that makes sense then, doesn't it?
Yeah. Okay. So any other plans for tonight then?
Other than making the phone call, I don't think so.
Okay. Anybody
Does
else?
anybody want to discuss anything?
I'm going to ask William if he remembers. I can't recall if it was a newspaper clipping or a letter that was talking about the rezoning area. Did we find that at the old lady's house?
It was a letter.
Yeah, we had stuff. I had a look myself. I couldn't see it. I think there was some stuff in the newspaper as well, and I do remember that address. But
for clarification, then, since it was a while ago, when Epstein and Fowler were looking through the drawers of Converse desk, they found a letter. And the letter said, "I'm leaving if you do this." They're saying that they're going to change the district lines, and I'm not going through with it. Someone paid a lot of money, and I'm not going to be someone's bitch, essentially. And the lines that changed.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, the lines that changed were, I believe, 149 through 143. Coincidence?
No. Like I say, Atlantic is throwing a bunch of money at whoever is in charge, and they're taking the money and they're changing the line so that Atlantic can do what he wants. It's the way it's always been. People are evil. Corporations are evil.
Yeah, but I think that the coincidence is the fact that this company is working with the city.
Yeah, if we're to believe the conspiracy is there is some kind of cult or organization who, of which, I keep forgetting these guys' names. The Silver Star, George Fulton of the Silver Star Corporation, doing all this rearranging of the city and work in the city. There's obviously people in high places that are involved, well, could be involved in some kind of cult.
Well,
I mean, this could be pressurizing.
I might actually be a little bit more on Kaus's side because I don't see any cult activity here. I see corruption, definitely corruption.
Mm.
People throwing money because they want a certain area, and then they just make it so that the city rezones and kicks the people out, and they take the buildings and they build them.
Yeah,
Money.
that's true. It could just be the gangsters.
The fact that it's the Arcane Society may be happenstance. However, there may be some sort of gang. You guys have seen strange people around the town. We've seen Germans. We've seen limos with people inside them that seem to be where they shouldn't be, and there's definitely something going on underneath everything.
Yeah, and the thing that sticks in my mind from earlier was George Fulton, the managing director of a large corporation, following Tally.
Yeah.
Was it just to get access to her boyfriend, or was it to do with Tally? I don't know. Anyway, let's sleep on it and go visit him.
Yeah. It's all related in some way, and we'll find out eventually.
All right. Go ahead, Jeff.
Is 149th and 143rd, 150th, are they anywhere near the water?
Yeah, they're by Harlem. So it's kind of near the water. Not quite, but it's near the water.
What are you thinking, Tommy?
Well, I don't.
It's not near the docks. About that. It's nowhere near the docks. Docks is in the south.
All right. I was just wondering if the city zoning is dealing with the sewers.
The sewer.
And the fact that they're trying to zone, not just like if they were targeting the New York Arcane Society, they would target them. They wouldn't target an entire block in order to get at one little building. So I'm just trying to look at a bigger picture here as to if we were to look at a map of this zone that they're rezoning and they're trying to take over this and force people either out or force people to enter into some sort of rebuilding of some kind that's involved with the sewers of New York City.
Well, maybe. Why don't we find out more about Atlantic Sea Partners?
I think that's what Henry, or Henry. I think that's what Henry was saying, right?
Yeah, find out more about them. See if there is a relation between them and Star. Silver Star.
So, plan for tomorrow is Alphonse in Jersey City. Kind of make it up as we go along after that point.
And possibly looking into Atlantic Sea Partners. There's got to be some way of looking up information on that corporation.
Yeah. Tommy, what's your law? Oops, sorry. What's your law again?
The skill number?
Yeah.
70.
Okay, good. So you're proficient enough. Yeah, they'd have, if it's a real company, which, I mean, there's no guarantee that it is. Maybe a law house just kind of like drew up a fake thing and just sent it out, or someone just made a fake letter and sent it saying, hey, 14 grand, move. But if it's a real company, they're going to have records because you have to, license a corporation name and all that stuff. So there's going to be records at like City Hall.
Yeah.
Hall of Records. Yep.
The thing is, they made them. Thomas, would we know, or would Tommy would know that offer, the 14 grand? Is that a reasonable offer for their?
It's over.
Okay.
That's $200,000
Okay.
for essentially saying we're going to buy the plot of land and then bulldoze everything.
That in of itself could be a problem.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, if they're trying to do something nefarious, I don't know. I don't know if I have all the pieces yet to make a coherent thought.
Well, wouldn't it make sense if you were actually some sort of a company and you're going to, let's say, knock down those buildings and put up a high rise in its place? That's what you do. Why would you go way over the price on purchasing? I mean, it's all money. Nobody's got endless money. So wouldn't you buy it at market value and then shouldn't build? Or why would you spend $200,000?
That's just my opinion, to entice the person to sell.
Yeah, except that wouldn't it entice you just to get full market value? If they go over, there's something.
There's something underneath, or there's something that is, in that building that they want, and a person is going to pay whatever price it is to get it, right? So,
yeah, but if you buy the building, it doesn't mean you get all of the contents. People are going to move all their stuff out. So you're not getting anything by buying the building, except the real estate.
Yeah, but there could be something underneath the building that they need.
In the basement?
No, I mean like in the ground.
I think Fowler might have a point. What I also want to do tomorrow is try to do a bit of research of the property itself, to see if there's anything that stands out.
So you're going to go back to the yeah.
All of that would probably be in the Hall of
We looked
Records.
into the blueprints of the proposed sewer works.
You could probably get a hold of those.
I'd be interested to see where they run. I mean, where they actually go.
Sure. And just to point out, for clarification, George Fulton changed, he renovated the sewer for Staten Island. So that's its own little borough. That's not Manhattan. Just a clarification. I don't know if there was confusion on that end, but I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, I thought it was a city, so that's good.
Staten Island and Manhattan are two different islands.
Right. Mm-hmm.
All right. Anything else this evening, gentlemen, or shall we retire? All right.
I'm going to retire. So.
Let's retire.
Retiring. Okay.
I'm probably going to do a power roll, though, to a willpower.
Okay. Go ahead and
to see
give me a willpower then.
Failed by 2 points.
Okay. Give me a second. You're going to take sand loss, 1d4. But also,
where are you for? There you are. 2.
okay. There you go, Hawk. Let me know when you...
Well, I'm going to call with Henry.
Okay.
Henry wanted to be there, so perhaps I just forget.
Sure. I mean, role play it however you want. It's just a suggestion. It's just a thought.
Well, Henry, let's call it Arcane Society, and let's not waste a lot of time on that. We tell them, we don't go over all the details of everything, but we talk mainly about the Arcane Society here, and that we're not impressed, and that they're facing a possible eviction within a week, and they don't have any contingency for what to do with the artifacts that they have collected, and we don't trust them with any artifacts that they have. They seem to be negligent. And what do they want us to do, or what do they want to do?
It's a mixture of a know your place kind of conversation and we'll handle it. They were aware of the financial burden, but they were not aware of the eviction.
Okay.
And so they basically say, we'll handle the transport. We'll talk to whoever is in charge, probably Emma, since she's administration. Just leave that to us. Do whatever you're doing. Whatever, they have no idea what you're doing in the city, so they're like,
Right.
Whatever you're doing, keep doing that. We'll handle the transportation and kind of getting that from them.
All right. And with that, we actually do retire.
Okay. Let me look at my chat just in case something's there. And nothing is there. So I will say that you all retire and nothing happens in the evenings. All right, next morning. It is about 9 o'clock. We'll say you guys slept in. You want to head over to Jersey City?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll drive.
Okay. All right. All right. Takes about 25 minutes, Fowler. Drive fast. You know, people clear your way from the off the bridge. They see you speeding down, and they just move out of the way. So you come to a very small shop. It's cute. It's got a little wood sign hanging over the glass door, and you can see there's like a display window with like a suit of armor, books stacked. It's cute. It's a cute little antique shop. The shop is called Forgotten Treasures.
That's too close in name too.
No, it's not. It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing.
Still an antique shop. It's not a common place.
Yeah. Still an antique shop. All right. What do you guys do?
Henry, you're an antique.
Yep.
You'll fit in well, Professor.
Have you been drinking this morning, Hulk?
A little bit. By the way, that whole missing the third step and making the sign before you go in the door.
I know.
I was fucking with you all.
I know. I just went with it. Wanted to see what the rest
That
would
was
do.
hilarious. Just wanted to see if you'd do it.
William did all of it.
Well, let's proceed.
I'm sorry. I'm just like really tired.
Okay. So Henry, you proceed. Open up the door. The bell rings. There's a very large, portly man.
This
That's not Abner Wick. That's not Abner Wick. Beard, rosy cheeks, bald. When he sees you enter, he turns and he goes, "Welcome, welcome, gentlemen. Please come in." And he kind of sets the books that he was putting up on the shelf down. And he says, "Welcome to my shop, Forgotten Treasures. What are you gentlemen interested in?"
I'm just going to start browsing around a bit. I'll let our lead investigator take over.
Well, we are friends with Guy Jules.
Oh, Mr. Jules, yes, with Low Memorial. He comes in here to buy texts very frequently. If you're interested in books, I've purchased some books from the Old Salem Library. If you'd like to come see them, they're over here on this corner shelf. Very nice, very good quality.
I'm actually doing an actual search to see if there's anything that stands out, any sort of antiques that might stand out.
I mean, just by doing cursory glances, you don't need to make a roll. There are some pretty pricey things in here, but they're, like I said, they're antiques. They're like medieval suits of armor, candelabras. There's some furniture, Victorian era. Nothing, occult or anything like that. I mean, there's some occult books, but that's just like what happens when you buy a bunch of books en masse and put them up on a shelf.
Do they have any ornate boomerangs?
You can ask him.
Or do you have any ornate boomerangs with mystical symbols?
Mystical symbols? We do not have any mystical symbols on boomerangs, young men. You understand that boomerangs, they usually don't have anything on them.
You haven't seen my boomerang, but we'll not go there.
You have a boomerang? Let me see it. And he holds out his hand. And he takes it, and he just kind of looks it over in the light, and he kind of, puts down his glasses, and he goes, it's very nice. And you know that just by like that tone of voice, it's cheap, but you're a customer, so it's nice. Here, take. And he hands it back to you.
Well, the reason why we've come today, other than my friends wanting to browse around a little bit, is you're familiar with the Arcane Society.
And his rosy smile, it doesn't all but fade. It just becomes kind of a little bit more professional. Mm-hmm. And he says, yes, I do some work with them on occasion.
Dr. Thompson and I are members of the Massachusetts branch, the original branch.
Oh, yes. I forgot there was one up there. I don't get out of Jersey City much. I don't even go to the city very often.
And my other friends, we're all part of an investigative team. As part of that investigation, Mr. Jules told us about a letter that you had received.
And he
letter.
And he kind of drops what you're laying down. He kind of picks up what you're laying down, and he when he understands that, he kind of shakes his head and says, "No letter." And his rosiness, his happiness, the professionalism, it's gone. And he just shakes his head and says, "No letter."
You don't have any reason to be afraid.
No, no one sent a letter. If I understand why you're here, very dangerous.
I understand. It's a very nice shop you have. Is there any place where we could discuss terms for purchasing some of these items? And I give him a sort of a wink.
And he nods, and he kind of not rushes, but he kind of moves over towards the door, and he flips the close sign, and he locks it, and he points to the back room, and he says, "Back here, my office." Right. In his very small, cramped kind of messy office. There's just a single bulb. It's very dim and very faded. He brings you inside, and he turns the light on, and he says, a man came in. I had seen him before. He comes in, not often, but he comes in. He says that he has supplies, things to trade. He comes in with cards and says that his boss has things if I'm interested. He only comes in and he gives me 5 cards every time he comes in.
5?
Only 5. He says if anyone is interested, I should pass along, but no one's been interested in a very long time until just recently. First, you've come in asking about him, but very dangerous man. I know little about the boss.
I see. Might I see one of the cards?
And he moves over and he opens the drawers to his desk, and he says, "The man, he only sells the strangest, rarest items, books, biological things." And he begins. He what he holds in his hand it's a card. It's all black. He says he pays bounty hunters, grave robbers. Once, a few years ago, I heard talk that a man was hired to bring back relics from Bird's Head, New Guinea, stealing them from the Miskatonic team he was accompanying. None of them came back. And he holds out the card and he says, "This man deals in death, sorrow. I refuse to give innocents his information, but it seems like you need it more than I."
So I look at the card. What do I see?
You don't see anything. It's a pitch black card.
I hold it up to the light.
Pitch black.
There's nothing on it, I say to him.
And he shrugs and says, "This is what he gives."
May I keep this?
And he nods and holds up his hand and says, "You can take all, for all I care." You can see that he's genuinely unnerved.
And over time, he's been given numerous cards by this guy.
Every time a man comes in, same man, hands me cards, says, "If anyone's interested or if I'm interested, to get in
And they're always
contact."
just black like this?
Always black. After 2 weeks, I throw out.
William takes one as well. He's intrigued.
Could I possibly have a look at one of those, please?
He literally he hands you the 5 that was given. He says, "Take them all."
I'd like to just run my index finger over the surface of the card on both sides. Can I feel anything on it?
I don't know if there would be a roll. So I'm not going to say there is, because there's not a feel roll.
Feel hidden.
Yeah, feel hidden.
I've got feel hidden written down here.
Yeah.
It's definitely on my investigator skills. What about sleight of hand? That's very much that kind of thing, isn't it? The
We'll say sleight of hand.
delicate manipulation of cards is
Sure.
what I do.
Sure, we'll say sleight of hand. It's such an exact, like, thing that, yeah, give me a sleight of hand.
I have got a 59 out of 70.
It's almost completely imperceptible when you run your finger over. But there are indentations. The indentations are clearly so small that if you were to raise it up and try and reflect, you couldn't see them because they're just ever so slightly raised, like a stamp.
I take the card in my hand and I go under the card. Do I see anything?
I don't know if breath shows up on
Well, I'm thinking if some of it is partly reflective and some of it is not, it might show the difference between the two.
Okay. I'm going to take a cigarette paper from my pocket, and I'm going to place the cigarette paper over the indentations on the card, and then I'm going to get my pencil out, and I am going to use just not the point, but the edge of the point, and just rub that gently over the indentations. Over the cigarette paper that's on the card.
Very faintly. It's clear that this is meant to be something like a stamp. You ink it, you run ink over it, and then press, and it appears. So in doing what you're doing, it's very faint, but you can make it out. On the what's clearly the front are words. No symbols, no nothing. It's just words. A paragraph. And it says, "Here is where I stand. When the bells toll 11 tonight, I shall walk on the east side of the east. I shall stop to tip my hat to General McKellen, like I did there on May 5th, 1862. I'll wait for you, my three little goats, there."
On the east side of the East River.
Near the statue of General... Is there a statue of General McKellen there? Or?
Probably.
Or some historical landmark connected with General McKellen?
At 11 p.m. And he calls whoever's reading it three little goats. That sounds kind of bad.
Is that perhaps is that perhaps a subtle way of telling only three people to go?
Yeah,
I don't know what we're hoping to find out. I thought that I was under the impression that we had something from this unseen cult, and I don't want to meet the unseen cult in the middle of the night.
So and just to clarify, did you say General McKellen or General McClellan?
McClellan.
McClellan.
Yeah, sorry, misspeak.
George B. That one.
Let's find out, because I did not write that down. I want to specify.
My knowledge.
Yeah,
American history.
There's 15 different statues of the different McClellans, and you want to find the George B.
Yeah, it is George B. McClellan, the Civil War general.
Yeah,
his friends call him GB.
I used to do Civil War tabletop wargaming. That's how I know that.
So at this point, Alphonse raises his hands up and says, "No more, please."
Sorry.
He's unnerved. He doesn't want to be talking about this. He's a shop owner. Like he does a little bit of occult stuff, but not too much. So he's just like, no, please, no.
We were not here.
And he nods and goes, yes, please.
And let's leave.
And he walks you out and says, is there anything else I can do for you, gentlemen?
When does this man usually come into the shop?
He shrugs and says, 2 months, 4 months, 6 months. Just him.
But during the day he comes in?
During near closing, he comes in, 5 cards, says the same thing, leaves.
What does he look like again?
He's a shorter man, blonde hair, greenish eyes. He usually wears a black jacket and some kind of suit.
The German?
No. And he says in Polish, he says something in Polish, but it's basically not German.
Okay.
Scarf? Big scarf?
Suit and jacket.
Well, gentlemen, let's leave Mr. Wierspa.
Wierspa.
And what should we do next? Check up on this Atlantic Sea Partners?
Yeah, I think so. We could see if they've got any connection to Silver Star as well, or what connections they do have.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, I was reading that newspaper article that we found about Silver Star. Again, it might be nothing, but we were talking, or I think, Hawk, you were talking about the price. Why would anybody offer so much money?
Right.
In that newspaper article, it was saying that, what's his name? George Fulton? He like rebuilt all those sewers for nothing. So it could just be that this company is just rolling in money, and the money means nothing. They just want what they want, and they want it now.
Maybe. You're right. Yeah, it might be that. I just think that it's odd that a company walks in and basically says, I'll give you $1 zillion for that without actually finding out what the place is worth. But you might be right. It might just be that they're desperate for the building.
Yeah, like I said, they're desperate. They're desperate, like, to want it, right? So if the person really wants it, they're gonna pay whatever it is, you know, for that thing, right? So.
Okay, so you guys are going to go to the Hall of Records?
Sure.
Okay. Okay. You guys didn't go to the Hall of Records in the last scenario, so this will be fun. So on 31st Chambers Street in Manhattan, which takes you another about 40 minutes to get to from Jersey City, is the Surrogates Courthouse, which is where the Hall of Records are stored. There are protests here about every day. Mainly from the black population, the African-American population, protesting the courthouse for justice for the people that were hung in the streets by the police. So, very violent outside. Getting inside the main part of the courthouse is not a problem, though. Police are just kind of standing there, you know, arms crossed. They'll let you in. You're not protesters. You're not anything. You're just walking out. When you enter inside and you go down the halls to find the Hall of Records, you can see as you're passing by one of the boards that have like the listings. The Hall of Records inexplicably says closed. It's like, oh, you know, Judge whatever is in 5B, Office 5B. Bottom, Hall of Records closed. Big white letter text. Which is odd because the Hall of Records is a public book.
Yeah.
It's probably just like that other building we were in where they're trying to just keep out all the reporters and general public.
Maybe. Yeah, let's find out.
Okay. So the Hall of Records is its own kind of wing. So you have to like open a door and go into like an office, like a waiting area. And in this waiting area, you see that there's a rather largish old woman who's sitting behind she like one of those little I'm tired. So one of the queue windows. So there's a door that leads into the actual Hall of Records, and then there's this queue window with a sign-in sheet. And as soon as you come in, she says, like in the most apathetic voice possible, "Hall of Records are closed."
Do you know when they're going to be open again?
Ain't got a clue.
William nudges Tommy and says, "Go and try your charm on, chat her up."
Yeah, Tommy, give me a spot. Actually, everyone give me a spot hidden. Why not? Everyone give me a spot hidden.
Oh, yeah.
I don't see anything.
No.
40 out of
18 out
45.
of 68.
40 out of 45.
To everyone that passed, you see that this woman, who's the name little the marker, it says Ruth Gardner. She is looking at Tommy, William, and who's the other young one? I'll say Felix. Yeah. You three. She's looking at you three, and she's looking you up and down.
I look good for my years. I've looked after myself.
How old are you, Felix? Because that's
37.
That's not that bad. She's like 60.
I think 37 is quite young.
I'm 39.
I remember 37. It was a long time.
How about this? We'll determine it like this. Who has the highest appearance?
60.
60.
45.
So not William and not Tommy.
I'm just quickly finding.
Nothing from Henry.
Enough.
He's 0.
No, I'm only at 50. Very average.
Okay, and Fowler.
I'm just quickly grabbing it. My appearance is 50.
So it's a straight up tie between Clifton and Felix. She is eyeing you two. She's looking you up and down.
Thank goodness, Tommy. We got saved there. Being ugly.
You almost threw me under the bus there. I would have taken one for the team, though, just so you know.
Well, what do I have as far as? I don't have much charm.
The great Bamboni could produce a flower.
I can entirely do that. I have actually got on my gear and possessions list an expanding bunch of flowers.
Well, I hope that you guys are okay for the next 7 minutes flirting with me and trying to convince me to do stuff for you. So let's see how that goes.
You have lovely eyes.
Okay.
You're the cream in my coffee.
Okay.
You're the salt in my stew.
She goes, Monty Python. That's a good idea for a show. She writes it down on a piece of paper.
I'm trying to seem confident.
All right. So what do you guys do? You're not getting in.
I'll just say to her, I'll say, listen, we've just got a really small thing to look up about a company that's trying to purchase a building that we're interested in. We just need a little bit of information. Couldn't you help us out?
She kind of looks you up and down, Hawk. I don't even need to have you roll for that. She kind of looks you up and down, Hawk. I'll give you a charm.
I don't have much in charm. I got 35, and my charm is 35.
All right. She kind of looks at you.
I give her the hawk eye.
And she said, and she leans forward and says, I may be willing to let you and your friends in, but you know, a lot of this isn't open to the public. I may, and she kind of leans forward and puts her hands on her face and says, I may lose my job helping you out here.
Well, we wouldn't want that to happen.
No, we wouldn't. And she gives you a smile.
What could I do to make it worth your while?
And she smiles, and she looks at the group and says, maybe you're chatting me up a little bit, and the door's unlocked, and your friend just got in on accident. But you're here.
Well, I could, and I sit down on a chair, and I like that. Well, let's chat a bit.
Let me do some work here for just a moment. And she walks over to the door. She opens it. And she kind of pushes it open and then walks back to the window and leans forward and says, and I may need you to do you to sign in.
Sure. So I sign in.
And she's just smiling at you, but the door is now open. She is consciously letting you inside.
All right. Well, while Hawk is doing his thing, I'll head on inside.
All right.
So, love, how many grandchildren do you have?
60, not 80. 1.
And your husband?
And she leans forward and says, not here.
Ah.
All right, so people who are inside. Everyone give me, well, let's do a group. Group roll. Someone's going to roll for the entire group. Who is it going to be?
Well, I'm out flirting with the old broad.
Well,
Yeah.
what type of role is it going to be, or are you keeping that to yourself?
Library roll.
I have a 70 in library.
Okay. Henry, go for it.
Yeah, Henry.
We will assist Henry in his role.
Let me push this roll.
Okay. I'm willing to give you, we'll call it a bonus dice since everyone's helping you.
Okay, I got a 47 out of 70.
All right. It takes you a little while, but you find where in this huge sea of paperwork where the business licenses would be and the formation papers and everything like that. And you find the Atlantic Sea Partners. So the business was formed and filed on March 26th by Baxter Law. Specifically, Lucas Baxter, head of the firm. The business was also created, so it was, this paper was filed by Baxter Law, but the business was created by Maxwell Tyler, John Fairbanks, Robert Reiser, Lucas Baxter, Morris Tremaine, and George Fulton. The business listed in the forms is shipping, with the business address not even being listed in New York City. There's 2 addresses, a main and a secondary. The secondary, well, actually, one is listed in New York. The secondary is listed in the city. It seems to be an office. The main address, however, is an address in Lake Wench, which is outside of New York City, about 2 hours north.
Okay.
Lake, what was that, Thomas?
Lake Wench.
Okay.
Actually, I don't know if it'd be 2 hours. Maybe about an hour. With your guys' car, probably an hour and a half.
Okay. 2 hours sounds about right with traffic.
Yeah.
I'm jotting all this stuff down.
Sure. So yeah, this is when up front, Ruth kind of looks at the clock and says, "I think it's about time that we bring your friends back out."
Well, I mean, once we gather the information, I'm heading back out anyway. So.
Sure. So as soon as she says that, you guys are basically coming through the rows, and she says, "Right on time." And as soon as you guys exit, she closes the door. And says, "Well, it's been a nice talking with you."
I give her a little peck on the cheek.
Just to clarify, did you take the files, or did you just jot everything down and put the file back?
I jotted everything down, and you know, since we spent some time back there anyway, I jotted things down. I didn't take anything from public records.
Sure. All right, so you have all that.
Oh, George Fulton's up to his tricks, obviously.
And just for the record, you guys would have known these other names. Maxwell Tyler is the owner of Tyler Garment Factories. It's huge. John Fairbanks is a member of the board with Philip Morris International, the tobacco giant behind a Marlboro. I can't see it. My tongue's too big. I can't roll it off. Robert Reiser is a CEO of a huge real estate company. And Morris Tremaine is the comptroller for the city of New York City.
Well, gentlemen, we have a lot to discuss.
And a lot of leads to follow, finally.
All right. Shall we call it there?
We'll call it there.
Our players included Mick Swan, Jeff Wilkins, Corey Highstead, Ken Trench, Wayne Worthy, and myself, with Thomas McKeon as the Keeper of the Secrets. We're currently producing 4 shows a week with music and sound effects added in post-production. In order to create a richer listener experience, we provide audio-only versions of our shows free for you to download from Podbean or iTunes. If you'd like to become a patron, visit our Patreon account. Just $1 or $2 a month helps us a lot. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel, and punch that bell icon for updates on our latest shows. And leave us some comments. We like reading them. This is Tom Rayleigh, together with all the members of our gaming club, inviting you to journey with us once again into the darkness for another adventure into the universe of H.P. Lovecraft and the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. Until next time, good luck and good gaming.